Hi, this is Lauren Urban with Reach Out Teach Out at UCI, going over our R Bootcamp coding material for day 2. So day 2, we're going to learn ggplot 2, and we're also going to go over how to import your own data into RStudio. So to start, let's go over some of the vocabulary. So a package in R is basically all of the commands and code bundled together in order to perform a particular function. So these packages you can think of like a recipe or a cookbook. It includes all of the ingredients that you need in order to make the recipe or perform the task. These packages are stored in libraries. That's the place or the directory where the package is. So it's just like a real library, actually. You can go to the library and get a cookbook. In R, you can install and load a package which is stored in its own library. So in order to install the package ggplot2, there's a couple of options we have. So you can use the commands install.packages and then library, or you can use the panel on the bottom right to install it manually. So you would click packages and then you'll get a pop-up window and you'll just type in ggplot2. Also, if you are running into issues installing in either of those ways, you can go directly to RStudio and find the DevTools option, which will upload ggplot2. So the basics of ggplot are 3 steps. First, we will make a canvas by calling ggplot. Then we will define the dataset and the variables we want mapped, and then we'll tell ggplot what type of plot it should generate. So these are the steps right here, and kind of basically what each one of those steps will generate in RStudio. So let's break down some of the other components that you'll be using when you call ggplot. So first, you'll identify the dataset. So that's going to be, at first, we're going to use built-in R datasets to call. Then aesthetics is basically going to identify the X and Y variables that you want plotted. And then geom is going to be telling ggplot what type of plot. So this could be a line, this could be a bar plot. We'll go over a lot of different variations of plots you can make. So here's some examples, just the basic line and scatter plot. You can see that basically everything in terms of the first 2 steps, so calling ggplot and identifying the dataset as well as the X and Y axis, or X and Y variables are the same, and then we just call a different type of plot in this last function, or this last command. We can also make bar plots and histograms, and we can customize our ggplots. So you have a lot more functionality in ggplots in comparison to the built-in R plotting functions. So we'll still use this xlab and ylab in order to label the X and Y axis. We can also label the title of the entire plot, and we can make legends. So we'll go over all of this when we're in RStudio. So similar to what we did on day 1, we can also add color to the entire plot. So to do this in ggplot, inside of the geom command right here on the second line, we'll just say color is equal to, and then you can pick the color that you want. Make sure again to use quotations because this is a character data type. In addition to just a blanketed one color plot, we can also use color in order to look at how a particular variable is being plotted. So in order to do that, we're going to use this aesthetic AES command, and we're going to assign it to a particular variable in our data set. So in this example, this is looking at car efficiency based off of different features of cars. This is a publicly available data set inside of R called MPG. So inside of this geom point, we have used aesthetic, and basically we're telling R to assign unique colors for every distinct value inside of the variable class. So class is going to be a vector, like we talked about on day 1. It's going to have a lot of unique data points inside of it. And so we can see here it's actually a character vector. And so for each distinct value inside of this class vector, it is giving it a unique color. And so the reason why you might want to do this is, just having all these points as a scatter plot might not show you how different features of your data might actually be mapping across a particular variable. So in order to also understand your data a little better, you can add a best fit line if you're doing a scatter plot. So one of the nice things, again, about ggplot is that you can customize it. So you can actually layer multiple of these, like geom point and geom smooth, on top of the same plot. So there's two ways that you can add a best fit line. Remember, a best fit line is basically going to identify the slope that best characterizes the data that you're trying to plot. So it's a good way to look at the relationship between, two variables that you're interested in. So in this example here, we have our regular, data equals aesthetics and geom point, but we add geom smooth, and then we specify that the method should be a linear model. That's what LM stands for. And SD stands for the standard deviation or the standard error. So we're telling R not to show that in the plot. You can also extract the stats directly from the data and then use that in order to generate a plot. So to do that, you'd use this coefficient command. So it's COEF. And then again, you would identify you want a linear model based off of the X and the Y axis for the data set that you're interested in. And then you can plot that using geom AB line, basically. And so you would just identify the X and the Y axis. So in order to get data in and out of R, we'll go over this more in the second half, but I just want to give you this one slide so that in case you're interested in moving forward, you can go ahead and look at some of the different ways that you can actually read your data into R on your own. So let's take a pause here. We'll jump into RStudio and go over ggplot.